Also, a very good morning to all of you on radiolemans.com in sound. Very shortly, we'll be going live with sound and vision beautifully linked together. Live from the Dubai Autodrome. Early morning racing on a very big event weekend. The Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai to come later on today. But as a little bit of an hors d'oeuvre, 2 rounds of the brand new TCR Middle East Championship. A small but perfectly formed grid with some variety and a brand new car. They're on the formation laps now. Johnny Palmer will take you through the runners and riders.
Thank you, John. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Luca Engstler will start from pole position for the very first Middle East TCR race. TCR finally comes to this part of the world. There is an Asian series, by the way, but 3 races for the 2017 Middle East event. 2 here at the Dubai Autodrome today, and they're virtually back-to-back, just separated by a warm-up session for the 24-hour cars. And then we move to Yas Marina Circuit just up the road in Abu Dhabi for the 10th and 11th of February, and the season comes to a close at the Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir across the weekend of the 10th and 11th of March. 9 cars being entered into this opening event. We do hope that grid will increase through the course of this relatively short season, but it is a definite toe being dipped into the water as far as this season is concerned, with predictably a slightly longer season waiting in the wings for 2018. We shall see how interest grows through the course of this part season. Plenty of temperature and pressure being built up into the tyres of Luca Engstler's car. Of course, it's all important to get those front tyres nice and warm as the cars leave the grid for this standing start. Unlike the 24 hours, which obviously has a rolling start, these cars will come back to the grid and will be held on the red lights. And when all the red lights go out, then the 9 cars will hurtle their way down towards turn 1, and it really is downhill towards that right-hander, quite a sharp right, followed by the left flick, and then that long lingering turn number 3, which is tricky to get right, particularly this early in the morning when temperatures are still building, and some of these drivers a little short on experience. Michaela Teresi's had a lot of drive time at the wheel of her Alfa, whether that be at Macau or through the regular TCR International Series. Luca Engstler, born in the year 2000, incredibly, so just 17 years old. He might even be still 16, and therefore he is very early on in his racing career, having had Formula 4 experience with the ADAC organisation. And Franz Engstler, a real touring car legend, I'm sure is here watching how his son goes. There is the booted A3 driven by James Kay, another man who's been in touring car racing for a number of years. And you can see how light these cars are as well, with the rears almost being flicked into the air with every turn of the steering wheel from these leading Golfs. So into the pole position goes Luca Engstler, and all that tyre temperature that he's built up through one of the laps of the Dubai Autodrome will all start to be tailing off now, so he'll want to be sitting on the grid for as little time as possible. And I notice actually the car behind the Alfa, no, that was due to be James Kay, so James just a bit further back on the grid. Interestingly, he hasn't taken up his rightful spot. Oh, he has now. He's realised that there's a vacant space in front of him. That's where James Kay should be positioned. So 2 red lights, now 3. The green flag is waved at the back of the field. We get 5 red lights, and brand new for 2017, the TCR Middle East Championship is underway. Further back, possibly left on the grid. It was the number 7 of Stefan Guda who didn't get a good getaway. He is moving now, thankfully, there. And Luca Engstler, wow, that's a killer getaway for the man out front. And the Subaru is also on the move, up from 3rd position to be 2nd. It's 3 abreast further back with James Kay on cold tyres on the inside of turn number 1. I hope he held on to that. Yes, it looks like he did. But he was alongside Kane Aston in the number 303 orange red camel Seat, and big delay there. The first of 12 laps. Caption on the screen says 20, but it will be just 12 laps for this initial heat, and 12 laps a little later on as well. The lights are being flashed there by that's Engstler, isn't it? In third position, I beg your pardon. So Engstler didn't have a good getaway. The 8 car looks to be in third position, and therefore Matteo Homola leading the way. Still trying to work out the differences between these Golfs. I did notice that one of the cars doesn't quite have the livery on the roof. That is the race leader indeed, so that's easy to find Matteo Homola. And this is Luca Engstler's chance now, heading out of the left-hander around the back section. He's going to run up towards the hairpin on the outside line though, and cannot get by Luigi Ferrara.
Could be a problem for Matteo Homola, who was a little bit disappointed in qualifying yesterday, Johnny. He thought he might have had a better chance at pole position, but he's under investigation for a false start as they come down to the horseshoe at turn 14 for the first time.
So apologies, Luca Engstler not getting a good getaway, and therefore, if there is an issue with Homola's start, that will leave Luigi Ferrara out front. And the Subaru Impreza that qualified in 4th position with a competitive time of 2:11.0, but bear in mind the Golf's and Engstler's time was way down in the 2:10s. The Subaru may not have the pace to fend off these 2 Golfs behind for the full 12 laps, but Matteo Homola on the road leading this first round of the 2017 season for the TCR Middle East. There is confirmation then of the order at the first after the first lap. Homola from Ferrara, Engstler and Sledecka is 4th from Michele Cerruti's Alfa Romeo, and Stefan Gerda is 6th position, with Godovic also struggling on that opening lap, making a little bit of ground now though, having got by Kane Aston. Did that at turn number 1, so Kane drops to 9th position. James Kay is in 7th place with the Audi RS3, and this could be the lead battle if things don't go the way of Matteo Homola with that start under investigation. Great fight for 2nd place as it is at the moment. So swinging their way out of that sharp left-hander at turn 9 and onto the back straight effectively. And this time Engstler isn't close enough to that booted Subaru to try and utilise the tow. They work their way down to the hard braking area at turn number 10, and the Alfa also starting to pressurise the Philippe Sledecka driven car. Oh, wide goes the Subaru. So Luigi Ferrara with an issue, in fact. I thought that was a mistake at first, but Ferrara hasn't made the corner at turn 10, and indeed the Subaru loses all power. The lights have gone off, so I think Luigi Ferrara's trying to get that car restarted, but this leaves Luca Engstler now in 2nd position from Philippe Sledecka and Michele Cerruti, and of course that could be the battle for the lead of the race if Matteo Homola has to serve a penalty.
I think he turned that off straight away, Johnny. I think he was pulling it out of the way, got some problem. There may be a little bit of fluid underneath that car, but that was a very, very instant decision by Ferrara to get that Subaru off the racing line. There's some consternation down on the pit wall. We'll try and get Nick Damon to find the Subaru team down there and see if there's been any contact with the driver. Meantime, the leaders are coming through to complete the lap.
Yeah, they are. The race leader without the headlights on. The 2nd place car is now Luca Engstler, and everybody else behind moves up a place.
And the race leader will have a drive-through penalty for a jump start. Was under investigation, so that is going to be a very, very important problem for that Subaru, because it would have left him in the lead.
Absolutely, yeah, and therefore Luca Engstler, if things stay the same on this lap, I have to say this has been a very unpredictable start to it, with people you would have expected to get away from the line, well, really didn't. And Matteo Homola looked like he'd had a blistering start. Well, it's been judged to be a false or jump start. Now, Philippe Sledecka heading into turn 7, a little bit out of shape, but manages to mop it up. The Alfa Romeo not very far away, Michele Cerruti, and that car, once all this unwinds, will be in 3rd position, the 88. Taking loads of curb there, Michele, and watching her in qualifying was really impressive, with the Alfa being thrown around, and managed to get a time qualifying the Italian in 5th position, 2:11.059. The Alfa is closing on the goal for Philippe Sledecka as they head for turn 10, the braking area at the end of that long straight. Lap 3 of 12, and past the stricken there of Luigi Ferrara. So that area covered by yellow flags. You will be able to overtake from this point, though. And brake lights flickering from Sledecke. Gap definitely coming down between Sledecke and Michele Ceruti. Car up ahead, remember. Matto Homola will have to head into the pit lane in a moment or two. And therefore that will leave Luca Engstler taking pole position yesterday out front with this fight for second place. Really fascinating.
There's a dichotomy here, isn't there, for Homola and his team? Do you go straight away, or whilst you've got heat in the tyres and nobody there, do you try and push on for the 3 laps before you have to come in? Or do you give yourself as much time, with only 12 laps, remember, to go? Confirmation on the screen of the drive-through penalty, and that is going to leave Luca Engstler, the young man who is going to be concentrating on the ADAC version of the TCR back in Europe. It will leave him in the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first of the Golf, number 9, Matto Homola, heading down pit road now, and that will cost him a good chunk of time. Still got quite a bit of the race, though, to try and chase these runners down. Kane Aston is at the back of the field. There is the 303 car, and that will be the first car on Matto Homola's list to try and
Just a note that it will cost about 40 seconds for Matto Homola to come in down the pit lane and back out again. That's the pit lane time. He will lose a little more than that, of course. It's already cost him 4 seconds, Johnny, on his in-lap. I'll check the out-lap time to see what he's actually lost on the track.
Michele Ceruti again on the attack here. Philippe Sledecke needing to defend into turn 10. Puts the Golf right in the middle of the track, allowing the Alfa no chance to pull alongside. And Michele Ceruti's closer than she's ever been here. Just a car length between them as they swing left through turn 11 then, and up to another hairpin right at turn 12. Sledecke deciding not to defend this time. This is slightly uphill. Crucial to get a good exit out of here because it determines your optimum speed through the flick at 13 and then into the braking area at 14, which is heavily banked. And this time Ceruti is close enough, I'd say, to maybe make a move. Yes, he's got the inside line here and into the braking area. The Alfa's going to try and move up alongside, but Philippe Sledecke, because this corner is banked, is able to carry good speed through there. The next corner's a right-hander, but the Alfa's just about able to squeeze through. And that was one of those moves that took about 3 corners to pull off, but Michele Ceruti has squeezed ahead and is now in second position. There's the race leader, Luca Engstler, unaware of what's going on behind then for the fight for second position, and Engstler in the number 8 car over the line to complete lap number 4 of 12, and the Alfa Romeo starting to stretch its legs now in second place. Third position is Philippe Sledecke from Slovakia. Brandon Godovic still fourth, but would like to get involved in these fights, in this fight for the podium positions. Just a bit too far away at the moment. 3 seconds is the gap between Sledecke and Brandon Godovic. James Kay starting to have somewhat of a lonely race, sufficiently ahead of Stefan Gerda, but not close enough to Brandon Godovic to threaten for 4th spot, as the Alfa and the second of the Golfs work their way right through turn 7.
44 seconds was the lost time for Matto Homola as he went through that time. 4 seconds on his in-lap, 40 seconds on the lap that he has just completed. And Luca Engstler has just put the fastest sector of the first part of the circuit in of the lap and is stretching his legs.
Engstler already heading for turn 10. Nice lines being taken by Ceruti and Sledecke as they turned left through 9, hitching the left side wheels over the curb, but careful to keep at least 2 wheels in contact with the track, which is the right side of the white line. And they work their way now up towards turn 12, which is away in the distance from our commentary box, but well covered if you're watching the live stream. The Alfa crests the rise there and starts to plunge downhill once again. Here is Luca Engstler, though, starting to boss this race. He will be looking to try and take maximum points in this opening affair, because a win in the second race by no means guaranteed. Have to start that car, start the car from 9th position, remember, with it being a reverse grid from yesterday's qualifying for race 2, and that format will continue throughout the rest of the season at Yas Marina and Bahrain. The marker boards indicating to the drivers how far away the final corner is, And there is Luca Engstler emerging from it over the grid hatchings. Alfa Romeo behind, and the next thing to check is what is Michela Cerruti's pace like compared to Luca Engstler. Well, that time through, she was marginally quicker. That's the best lap of the race for Michela Cerruti, 2:11.250, 2:11.378 for Engstler, and Michela's time was about a second clear of Filip Sledecka in the number 11 Golf. Brandon Godovic quicker than Sledecka, so that gap could start to come down for third position. James Kay well in the 2:11s as well. Stefan Gerda still learning that car, the number 7 Golf, doing a 2:14. Matto Hommler, though, having taken that drive through, is the fastest car out on track and pushing on now in 8th position. So that's still last when you take into account the retirement of the Subaru. Let's hope that car can be fixed in time for the second race, whatever the issue was. But Luigi Ferrara hitting a problem very early on in this one. Down the back straight goes Luca Engstler then. Clear air in front, clear air behind for the young German. And he'll just need to concentrate on hitting every clipping point and braking area. Rear right tyre lifts up in the air. These cars so heavily sprung. And now turning left at turn 11 will be vaguely concentrated on the rear view mirror, but Michela Cerruti's 4.5 seconds adrift. It's going to be fascinating to see what the times are like at the end of this lap, to see whether Cerruti does really have a chance of reeling in Luca before the end of it.
Michela Cerruti, an interesting character, Johnny, only started motor racing after her father enrolled her in a safe driving course, if you will, and then the son of the man who owns the team that built the Alphas was impressed with their car control, persuaded the father to let her race, and since 2008 she's been in the Italian GT Championship, the Superstars. She went down to New Zealand for the Toyota Racing Series, did a bit of Formula 3 in the European F3 Open and German Series, Blancpain, Megane Trophy, Auto GP, and of course, most high profile I would say is racing for the Trulli team in Formula E before going to VLN, the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series, and now in TCR touring cars. I think her spiritual home. She really enjoys it. Spoke to her yesterday, says this little Alpha, which she's helped develop. There are 2 of these cars in existence. Really enjoys throwing that Alpha around, and a good opportunity here in this burgeoning, this new series in the Middle Eastern format, or the Middle Eastern Championship rather, of the TCR International Series.
Number 9 car, Matto Hommler, former race leader, but now having taken that drive-through penalty, way down in 8th position, and can see Kane Aston away in the distance along the main start-finish straight. So that will be a spur, if nothing else, with the hair in the distance, and Matto Hommler trying to close the gap. It's 8 seconds at the moment, 2:11.3 that time through though for the Slovak, and Kane Aston only in the mid 2:14s. Bear in mind that the 303 car will mainly be set up for the 24-hour race, the Red Camels car, so compromised slightly for this sprint format for a couple of races this Friday morning. And Kane Aston, I think if he was in a fully souped up TCR car, would be travelling the top 5. This is lap 7 of 12, and heading into turn 12 goes the race leader Luca Engstler. 4.3 seconds is the gap then, as we're at half distance, well, just a little over half distance now. Alfa Romeo still troubling those rearview mirrors, and the fight is now on between Filip Sledecka and Brandon Godovic. Godovic has been working hard at the wheel of the number 46 Golf, brought that gap down to just 0.6 of a second now, and considering Godovic finished the first lap of the race stone last, he's worked incredibly hard here. And Godovic's through, I beg your pardon, so that move's already been made, and Godovic has gone ahead of Filip Sledecka. So the American charging hard here, back up to 3rd position, which is where he started, and you could argue his legitimate position in terms of single lap pace. And I tell you what, James Kay's not very far away either, in 5th place. That little Audi again set up for the 24 hours, but it's brand new, it may be, but it's straight on the pace.
Yeah, James Kay making the point yesterday that he's probably 3 or 4 seconds off the ultimate pace of that car. Different tyres, different ride height, different minimum weight. all have to be changed. Now, it may be that they've actually made the decision, Johnny, with a little more time between this race and the start of the 24 to actually tune the car for the 12 laps rather than the hour and a bit that it'll be running on a much larger tank of fuel when the Hankook 24 hours comes round. They may have to put that, well, they've got 3 hours between the second race, so maybe they're giving it a bit more of a go at this in these two races than they were able to, because they basically had back-to-back qualifying sessions for the TCR and the 24 hours of Dubai. The Audi Sport customer racing team are here under Chris Renke, very excited. There's a display car in the back of the paddock. 18 cars have been built. They were sold in 17 days. I'm told that there is a allocation for the United States that is yet to be released, and of course IMSA talking about this type of car, TCR, to replace the ST class in Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge by 2018.
The third of the Golfs driven by Philippe Ledecker clattering the curbs, I noticed, at turn 7, and that jumped the rear axle up in the air. I don't think that was necessarily the cleanest lap that Philippe Ledecker has done in this race. Maybe feeling the pressure from James Kay's Audi behind, and that could be the next overtake as into the left-hander at 14 they go then. This is again a banked corner, which is where Michele Ceruti eventually was able to get ahead of Ledecker at the time. So Ledecker has already been done once at turn 14. Careful not to be overtaken there for a second time, but James Kay is going to leave it late here at 16. There is a gap, but not quite fully alongside, so couldn't pull the move off, and therefore James Kay remains in 5th position behind Ledecker, but slightly compromised now onto the main straight. Luca Engsler safely through, by the way, to complete 8 laps. That's his best lap of the race at 2:10.8. So Michele Ceruti, any hope of her closing that gap as James Kay's going to try it again, stabbing a move down the inside, and there's contact at turn number 1, which means a half spin from Philippe Ledecker. He's trying to churn his way down the box now to find first gear, and yes, the 11 car is back up and running. Let's hope it's not done too much damage to that rear right corner.
Showing his lack of experience being in Lamborghinis and BMWs in longer races. As soon as he got sideways there, any touring car will tell you, and a touring car driver will tell you, as soon as you get tapped and sideways, you hammer the throttle and turn. Instead of counter steering, you turn the way exactly you want to go, spin the front wheels up, trying to get the car to pull itself straight again. He lost a little more time than he wanted to now. He will be fuming after that. It's such a knife-edge corner, turn 1, downhill braking area, and the car really is moving around through the apex as you head towards turn 2. Not, I think, a deliberate move by James Kay, although he's a experienced campaigner in close quarters racing, considers the British Touring Car Championship the most pure form of racing anywhere in the world. You'd only need a slight tap when you're so close to the ragged edge of adhesion.
Fabrizio Giovanardi, always the master of getting cars back from impossible angles by burying that right foot. And yes, Philippe Ledecker with a little bit to learn in that regard. Luca Engsler plying his trade at the head of the order, not needing to get back from those sort of angles because his car very much on the straight and narrow here. Almost like it's on rails. As I say that, he runs a bit wide out of turn 15, but there's no car there to take advantage because he's enjoying this nearly 6-second lead at the end of lap 9, and last time around managed to set his best lap of the race. Can he improve on that? Not quite, but a 2:10.9 is still very respectable. Does it open the gap up back to Michele Ceruti? Yes, it does. 6.2 seconds now, the gap back to the white Alfa Romeo number 88. Lights flashing from Brandon Godovic, interestingly. Brandon's nowhere near close enough to pull off an overtake into turn number 1. He has got a rampant James Kay behind him, though, who will be closing in, I'm sure. A 2:13.1. No, that's not good enough for James to get close enough to Godovic. But we'll see how the next lap is, of course, because James Kay will have had to, there's a certain element of him backing out of turn number 1, I'm sure, to avoid that moment with Philippe Ledecker, who has pitted at the end of lap 9, by the way. So Ledecker having recovered from that moment, and our man down in the pit lane is Nick Damon.
Yeah, there's a lot of consternation on the Engsler pit. Obviously, they're looking after 5 cars, and they put on their mechanics gloves. They're welcoming him. And they're now I think he may have flat spotted a tyre during that spin, because they are not running round at great speed. Of course, one of the problems is these are 5-nut wheels, so any changes can take a lot of time. But I assume, given the fact he dropped so far down, they're thinking, well, they'll get points anyway, because they'll be classified in 7th or 8th. And now they're trying to see if there's actually a problem with the car. They're looking at the rear left, trying to see if that's now going over to the rear right, because and they're looking again, so it looks like Sledecka has decided there was a problem with the car rather than his driving when he span off.
No, I think there was a problem with contact from James Kay, mainly down at turn number 1, and I just wonder whether that's resulted in some damage, or maybe wheel alignment now not as good as it was at the start of the race. Luca Engstler's car already at turn 14. This is lap 10 of 12. So nearing the end then, after a great performance yesterday in qualifying, became the first poleman in the TCR Middle East Championship. Can he be the first winner in this inaugural season? Sledecka's car showing no signs of returning to the race in a hurry. And it kind of makes sense to set the car up or prepare it for race 2 rather than throwing it back out into this one. So Engstler over the line. Michele Cerruti in 2nd position, 6.4 seconds adrift now. Brandon Godovic in 3rd place. James Kay 4th in the Audi RS3. And Nick telling me in my ears that no sign of contact on the rear right corner of that car. So despite a half spin and just about collected up by Philipp Sledecka, it's not damage that has forced him out of this race.
Look, I may have been a little harsh on Philippe there. It is counterintuitive when you've been driving highly powerful rear-wheel drive car that as the car starts to slide, you turn the car into the corner and get your foot down and get the front wheels driving. He was sliding, he was under pressure, and Johnny, it looked like it was very close. If it was a touch, it was the very tiniest of taps from James Kay, but no marks for Nick Damon's eagle eyes to spot down there in the pit lane.
Haven't had a chance to see a replay of that incident, and it might have been a bit tricky anyway, because the contact was kind of made rear right, which was the blind side of the car, if you like. But it did look like James was going for a gap that was diminishing. He'd already tried a move at 16 where the door was slammed in his face, and a similar thing happened at turn number 1. But I suppose only James and Philip will be able to tell us whether there was actual coming together. And James Kay's pace hasn't really altered, a 2:11.7. And can't really see an obvious scuff mark on the front of James's Audi either. So maybe it was just the slightest of taps, if at all. Lap 11, Luca Engstler coming towards the end of that, and gets this corner right every lap. Turn 14, it's a late apex, so leaving it very late to clip the red and white curb to driver's left. Plenty more curb taken at 15, and the Brandon Godovic car, which is still in 3rd position, has the Alpha not very far away of Michele Cerruti. 2:11.1. Interestingly, was Brandon Godovic's best lap of the race for lap 10. He isn't able to improve on that for lap 11, and the gap is 1.9 seconds between Cerruti and American Godovic. Still could do something with that, 1.9 seconds, but this is the final lap now. Luca Engstler looking like he's got this in hand with 7 seconds as an advantage over Michele Cerruti. They're still checking at Liquimoly around that car, and I'm sure preparations well underway now for race 2. Bearing in mind that team have got 4 other goals to try and quickly turn around as well, with only a quick warm-up session between the end of this race and the start of the next, round 2 of the 2017 TCR Middle East Series. But it will be the golf of Luca Engstler, it looks like, to take the opening plaudits for this 6-race season. Michele Cerruti will be pleased with hard work early on in this race to qualify in 5th place, and it looks like finish in 2nd. That's barring any late push from Brandon Godovic to try and wrestle 2nd place away from the Italian. But with just under 2 seconds to try and find, that might be a bit much to ask now, with the first sector times all very similar between the top 3. James Kay has safely worked his way through sector 1 now. Stefan Gerda in 5th position. Matteo Jamola, update on the former race leader, in 6th place now, helped of course by his compatriots Ledecker pitting and retiring. Kane Aston has fallen to 7th position, so Homola's overtaken one car there to now run in 6th.
And in point of fact, he's made up around about 10 or 11 seconds on Luca Engstler. He lost 44 seconds when he had to come into the pits to do that drive-through penalty for the false start, the jump start. It's been costly for him. He'll be even more frustrated, Johnny, because he clearly has the pace in that Golf.
Yes, thank goodness for him. There is another race to come in a moment or two's time, with the checkered flag then being waved. Congratulations to Luca Engstler in the end, winning by 6.8 seconds from Michele Cerruti's Alfa Romeo. 3rd place going to Brandon Godovic. So the Liquimoli team managing to get 2 of their Golfs on the podium, 1st and 3rd. James Kay comes home in 4th position in that brand new Audi. Stefan Gerda will make it 3 Golfs in the top 5. Matteo Jamola just missing out on the top 5 finish despite a mid-race drive-through penalty, and Kane Aston will come through in the number 303 Red Camel Seat in 7th position. One car didn't make the finish in the form of Luigi Ferrara, and the other car, Philips Ledecker, having to pit with that issue, with maybe the car just not quite behaving itself for Philip. And the team have a little bit of time now to try and turn that around. The bigger issue, I sense, is for the Subaru of Luigi Ferrara, which had a really great getaway. And it's all the more galling, I suppose, to have such a good move from the start for then the car only to last a couple of laps and expire at turn 10. And I think John's quite right. He turned it off very quickly in order for it not to do any further damage. They'll get that car back to the paddock and try and turn it around as quickly as possible, but it could be that we don't see that Subaru start. So Nick Damon is down in the pit lane, ready to receive Luca Engstler and Michele Cerruti and Brandon Godovic for the first podium of the year, Nick.
But more importantly, I have the proud father, Frank Engstler. Fantastic. Your son, a chip off the old block.
Yeah, of course. He did a brilliant job, really. Thank you. He did a great job the whole weekend from the first practice, and for him it was not easy. It's the first touring car race. He switched from the Formula 4 in the touring car, and he was really nervous, but I'm much more nervous than him. And he did, yeah, fantastic job. My team, everything did so a great job. Give him a perfect car, and if you see the race, he can go 4 laps in 1/10. He did really yeah, great job. Thanks a lot to all.
Fantastic work from you and the team. So, Franz, does this mean now that your son is a fully fledged touring car driver and he'll always have a roof over his head from now on?
Yeah, maybe I will give him much help as possible, and I support him for the future, and we will see. First we do the TCR championship, and we'll help him to grow up, and yeah, I think it will be fine.
Franz, brilliant, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Luca Engstler certainly showing as much touring car experience at this young age, 16, as his father. Great for Franz to be here to experience this first victory. 25 points then in the back pocket for Luca Engstler. Can he repeat that in race 2? From 9th on the grid, remember. So that's an awful lot of work for him to do, and some overtaking. He had to do a little bit of that in race 1, but we'll have to do more in race 2.
I was impressed at the pace of the Alfa with Michele Cerruti at the wheel. A huge amount of experience for that driver. Luca Engstler obviously has something to prove with that last name, and I can't really be affording to be hanging around. Word 2 for Brandon Godovic, who came in 3rd in the 46 Liquimoli Golf, because he is doing all 3 events this weekend. He's already participated in the 3x3 hour Prototype Cup. He'll be in the 24 hours as well. A man with NASCAR Xfinity Series under his belt. He's also been very successful in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo in the US, although rather unfortunately for him this year, Shinya Mishimi dominated the championship. He had done very well in the championship in 15, but this year wasn't able to repeat the championship run. But that's, I think, a podium that will have 3 very excited and happy drivers. Not always the case, but they've all got something to celebrate there, Johnny.
Yeah, no, it's a great for opening round, I think, with 3 different car shapes in the top 4. The Audi admittedly powered by the same power plant as the Golfs, but totally different shape with its boos, and James Kay showing that it could be competitive throughout the year. The 303 Seat just working its way onto the weighbridge now with Kane Aston at the wheel, but handshakes all round for Luca Engstler. Didn't really put a foot wrong in that and did have overtaking to be done. Nick Damon standing by patiently, ready to talk to our first race winner of the 2017 TCR Middle East Series.
Luca, many congratulations. That was a fantastic race.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. At first I thought, okay, my start was no good, but then I pushed as much as I can, and yeah, now it's the win there.
Not the greatest of starts. Did you know your teammate had jumped at the start?
Yeah, I saw, and after 10 meters over radio, okay, be careful, be careful. Homola did a jump start, so don't worry, don't worry.
So when you were ahead, was that as fast as you could go, or were you managing the pace?
At first I pushed as much as I can, and then I saw, okay, I can calculate the distance, and then, yeah, it was okay.
The next race is going to be more difficult. The reverse grid, what are your tactics?
Yeah, at first, the first goal is, okay, we win the race. Now we'll have a look as much as I can overtake, and yeah, maybe a podium. We will see.
Thanks, Luca. And apologies for the Diana Binks channeling earlier.
Luca Engstler straight into the arms of more of team members from the Liquimolli Team Engstler crew. They're looking after 5 cars this weekend. 2 of them finish on the podium. Philip Sledecke sadly in the pit lane, and Mata Homola with that drive-through penalty. So some things for him to think about between now and race 2 as well, to wait for those lights to fully go off. Often you're just looking for anything to change on the lighting gantry. I'm not exactly sure how early he went, but these Golfs almost identically livery, so it was difficult to tell that it was Engstler who'd fallen to 3rd position on the opening lap, and he'll be hoping for a better start in race 2. So Engstler working his way now to the podium. You don't get any extra points, by the way, for fastest lap, so we don't need to worry about that, but it's 25 points for a race win, and he's already got 5 points for his pole position as well, so 30 points after just 1 race is a decent haul, and as he said, hoping for a podium at the very least for the second race. Nick?
Very quick bit of news. James Kay's Audi just went past me and has a noticeable bit of pushing damage low down in the front valance, so he's actually smashed the front valance situation. Not saying it was necessary when he went past the other Golf, but there are, you know, we would obviously put Bradley at the yard, but I believe that there appears to be some very obvious circumstantial evidence.
Front left
low.
It was. That was turn 1. Because Mata
Your witness, Your Honour.
Homola, you know, there was a spin there, and I don't think he was going to go around all on his own somehow. It was interesting, that move. I'd like to see it again, because there was a gap initially, but it was Homola's corner, really. And he pulled across the apex, as he was duly bound to do, and the two met, the trajectories of each car met. We'll see whether anything is done about that post-race. James Kay coming home in 4th position, though, as it was, so wasn't due to stand on the podium. A strange old race for Brandon Godovic, dropping to, as I mentioned in commentary, stone last, and then moved up to 3rd position. So he's certainly well aware he was involved in a race. 12 laps will have passed very quickly indeed as he tried to get back on the podium. So Engstler, Cerruti, Godovic, the 3 drivers heading to the podium, John.
Not sure how many times Brandon would have had a clutch start.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In his racing
actually.
career, having done stock car racing in the States, Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo are all rolling starts. So it might not have been something that he's practiced too much. And it is a skill. I remember going into my first motor race, which was a Fiesta race at Croft, and then as I sat in my lowly grid position thinking, oh, I never asked how many revs I've got to pull to get it off the line. So it is that you think about, and maybe in all the excitement of doing 6 races or 5 races this weekend in 3 different championships, that is something that slipped through the Godovic net.
Yeah. Well, easily done. I mean, you don't fully understand the importance of that question until you're on the spot and needing an answer, I suppose.
And it's not always just keep it on the rev limiter and sidestep the clutch. Quite a lot of these cars have a particular way of getting them off the line. Now, these cars are all front-wheel drive as well, of course, and are easy to induce wheel spin. I'm loving that Alpha. I really like that. The Giulietta is a car that I've experienced the road car and liked it, and I think they've really done well to hold on to the shape and the personality of the car while still making it look like a racing car. Here comes the podium, Johnny.
Yeah, there's some nice touches on the TCR design with the flared wheel arches and the extra bits of
and
bodywork.
Winner of race number 1 this morning.
So third place
Germany
going to Brandon Gudovic, Michele Ceruti
Ensler.
finishing in second place, just working away into shot there on the left-hand side of the live stream. And here is Luca Ensler. Handshake to Michele, handshake for Brandon Gudovic, and Luca Ensler stands on the top step of the podium. And we'll hear the national anthem of the winning driver.
Thank you, and a round of applause for our top 3 in race number 1 of the TCR Middle East Series. The trophies are presented by Mr. Emir Aktazada from VP Racing Middle East. Trophy for the 3rd position, Brandon Gudovic in the Liquimoli Team Ensler Volkswagen Golf. Trophy for the 2nd position, the Alfa Romeo of Michele Ceruti from Mulsanne Racing. And the biggest trophy for the race winner, the Liquimoli Team Ensler Volkswagen Golf from Luca Ensler. Come together on the first step, please, for the picture. Thank you. Our top 3, ladies and gentlemen. And later on in the day, in the afternoon, just before the start of the 24-hour race, we have the second round of this weekend. See you later.
A broad smile from Luca Ensler then, joined by Michele Ceruti and Brandon Gudovic on the podium. And great that Franz Ensler could be on the podium as well as a representative for Liquimoli Team Ensler. The two of them, in fact, heading to the top step now for a photograph that will be looked back on, I'm sure.
Oh, that's a dad and lad weekend,
just
isn't
a
it?
bit, yes. In many years to come, I'm sure they'll be looking back on this. What has that young man got in store for the rest of his motorsport career? Well, first job is to try and win race 2 of the 2017 TCR Middle East Series. A real enjoyable event, that. 12 laps that flew by. Hope you enjoyed them as much as we did. And race 2 is just around the corner, remember, the other side of the 24-hour